The doctor examined Nadia and determined that she was well enough to be discharged. This made her happy because she would be able to go home sooner than expected. Pavel Yurievich, her doctor, explained that she would recover faster in the comfort of her own home. Despite not informing her husband Sergei, who was at work, Nadia decided to surprise him by taking the bus home herself. She didn't mind carrying her bag, as she imagined the joy on Sergei's face when he returned from work to find his beloved wife and a delicious dinner waiting for him. Nadia couldn't help but smile, knowing that Sergei had also promised her a surprise. Nadia and Sergei had only been married for 6 months. They first met at a mutual friend's wedding, where they both served as witnesses. Coincidentally, the bride and groom had gotten into a terrible argument during the ceremony. The bride's ex-boyfriend showed up uninvited, causing jealousy and tension between the couple. Nadia and Sergei took it upon themselves to mediate the situation, succeeding in reconciling the quarreling lovers. The newlyweds shared a passionate kiss under the cheers and relief of their witnesses, who had anxiously watched the events unfold from a nearby cafe. Looking back, they realized how ridiculous their initial fears were and were grateful that their intervention had saved the love between the bride and groom. After 3 months, Nadia and Sergei decided to formalize their relationship by getting married at the registry office. Although they didn't have their own place yet, they rented a cozy one-room apartment. Their living arrangement fostered a strong bond between them. They eagerly returned home from work to cook and clean together, cherishing their time spent talking under a cozy blanket on the sofa. Nadia believed that their love for each other was so strong that they accepted each other's flaws wholeheartedly. Upon arriving home, she swiftly removed her coat and was startled to hear voices coming from the bathroom. Nadia tiptoed hesitantly towards the door, her fear rising with each step. She strained to listen and recognized a woman's voice filled with adoration and bliss saying, "Honey, you're a miracle. I adore you, my cupcake." Accompanying her words were the soft, contented tones of a man, punctuated by sighs and kisses. The word cupcake sent a wave of horror through Nadia. She couldn't fathom that her Sergei would bring a stranger into their home to engage in such intimate activities. Breathing heavily, Nadia silently retreated from the door, desperately hoping they wouldn't discover her presence so close by. Glancing around, her eyes landed on a heap of clothing on the sofa, topped by a red woman's coat. Nadia's mind raced, thinking she's going to ruin everything. Tears welled up in Nadia's eyes as she sprinted out of the apartment, rushing down the 3 flights of stairs and bursting onto the street. Oblivious to the cold March air, she walked, absent-mindedly wiping away her tears. Lost in her thoughts, she didn't notice the passage of time. Suddenly, she snapped back to reality, realizing that someone had placed something warm around her shoulders. Surprised, Nadia looked up to find a stranger standing before her, offering his jacket and pulling it snugly over her chest. "Have you been sick for long?" he asked, a note of concern in his voice. "Just today, from the hospital," Nadia murmured in reply. And then the boy spoke cautiously, casting a sidelong glance at her. "Not from the asylum, I hope?" "No," Nadia shook her head. "I had my appendix taken out. And now she wants to go back with Angina," he added. "No, I don't. It's just that I came home and they were in the bathroom," Nadia explained, her voice breaking as she fought back tears. Unable to contain her emotions any longer, Nadia began to sob. 15 minutes later, Victor, the new acquaintance whose name she had learned, was pouring her a hot cup of coffee in his small yet tidy kitchen. Nadia held the mug with childlike hands, seeking comfort in its warmth, as she recounted what had happened to her. "Nadia, I really need to leave. If I don't show up for work soon, I'll be fired, and I desperately need the money. I left my parents because it doesn't matter," Victor said, his tone filled with concern. "You stay here. Please don't go anywhere. There's food in the fridge and coffee on the table. Just don't do anything foolish." I'll be back in about 4 hours, and we'll figure out what you're going to do next, okay? Nadia nodded, unsure of how to proceed, but placing her trust in Victor's words. He left, and as she finished her coffee, Nadia glanced around Victor's apartment to distract herself from her troubling thoughts. Just then, the phone rang. Startled, she threw the phone onto the sofa, allowing the music to play as she couldn't bring herself to answer. "Why aren't you picking up?" A woman's voice suddenly spoke from behind her. Nadia turned sharply to find a pretty girl calmly standing in the doorway of the room. "Who are you?" "I'm Nadia." "What brings you here, Nadia?" "I'm waiting for Victor." The girl walked around Nadia, giving her a smirking glance and shrugged her shoulders. "Vidya is my boyfriend. He's trustworthy. I haven't seen him going left, at least not yet. Your appearance doesn't seem like you're trying to seduce him, and your eyes look teary. So I'm curious. Tell me what happened. He brought you home for a reason." Nadia sniffled and shared her story with the girl, who had kind and understanding eyes. "It seems like nothing is clear." "What does he say?" asked the girl named Vika. Nadia explained that she couldn't talk to him. "Let's do this then," suggested Vika. "Since you don't have any clothes, I'll go on a reconnaissance mission to see if things are really as upsetting as you say." Vika quickly got dressed and soon rang the bell of Nadia's apartment. The door opened, revealing a tall girl in a short, homemade robe that barely covered her. Vika couldn't help but giggle and glanced behind the girl. "Did you accidentally run over Sergei after all?" The girl blushed with embarrassment and angrily exclaimed, "You cheeky girl. Yes, I will show you now." She reached out to grab Vika's jacket. Immediately assessing the danger, Vika swiftly ran out of the apartment. Luckily, the girl wasn't able to catch up with her speed. Vika returned to Victor's apartment, slightly out of breath and disappointed by the lack of progress. Nadia's sorrowful sighs filled the room, while Vika remained uncomfortably silent. Just as the tension became unbearable, Vidya arrived on the scene. Upon hearing the situation, he offered to personally confront Sergei. Dialing the number Nadia had provided, Vidya activated the speakerphone and patiently waited for a response. When Sergei finally answered, Vidya addressed him directly, relaying the state of his distressed wife. "Sergei, your wife is here at my place. She witnessed everything and doesn't wish to speak with you. However, she is without proper clothing. If you have any decency left in you, gather her belongings and bring them to us." A heavy pause ensued before a voice on the other end of the line questioned the sincerity of the message. "Is this some sort of joke?" came the skeptical tone. Vidya remained composed and clarified, "No, it's not a joke. In fact, my own wife is currently in the hospital, so I apologize for any confusion. But the urgency of the situation remains. Nadia needs her things." Suddenly, the mention of a new apartment and furniture caught Nadia's attention, prompting her to interject. "What furniture, Sergei?" Surprised that Nadia was actually present, Sergei stumbled over his words in response. "Oh, so you're really there? I've been furnishing our new apartment as a surprise for you, and you're sitting naked at some man's place." Fortunately, Vika bravely came to Nadia's defense, sparing them from a lengthy explanation. It turned out that while Nadia was in the hospital, Sergei had found an apartment to rent at a very high price, with a subsequent buyout option. He had wanted to surprise his wife and even purchased some furniture for the place. Meanwhile, another couple, Galia and another Sergei, had managed to rent the same apartment. Interestingly, Galia is an excellent cook and Sergei fell in love with her culinary skills. When Nadia returned to the apartment to retrieve her coat, she explained the situation to Galia, who kindly forgave Vika and invited everyone over for stuffed cabbage. Galia even helped Vika make friends with Victor's parents, who initially didn't approve of their relationship because she was 3 years older than him. With Galia's guidance, Vika baked a magnificent cake, and together with Vidya, they brought it to Victor's parents. The parents were so impressed by the cake that they were willing to overlook the age difference, as long as Vika continued to feed their son delicious treats. Thus, this absurd accident brought together three remarkable couples who formed a lasting bond of true friendship for the rest of their lives.